Hello, this is Afful Banson and welcome to the Young Achievers Network. I trust that these podcasts are moving your life in the direction that you want and you are making progress in pursuing your vision and dream for the new year and your dream for the next 10 years. Before we move further, I want you to give me a thumbs up, share this video with your friends, subscribe to my channel, and comment below. Help me grow this channel. God bless you for doing so. Today we are looking at strategy. Strategy. What is a strategy? A strategy is a way of organizing your resources for long-term benefit. Success is determined by how well we organize the resources that are available to us. And strategy is the way we organize those resources. Now remember, I mentioned earlier in a podcast that strategy deals with long term, the final outcome. But tactics deal with the short term, the immediate outcome. So the purpose of strategy is to give you a favorable outcome in the long term. So at the end of your 10 years, by the end of 10 years, you should have a favorable outcome based on the strategy that you have put together. And this podcast will have a second part tomorrow, which will show you how to put together a strategy for your life. Now, what are some of the resources that are available to us? If a strategy is a way of organizing resources for long-term benefit, then what are some of the resources that are available to us? Number 1, time. 2, talents. 3, energy. 4, relationships. 5, knowledge and education. 6, skills. 7, personality. 8, mind. 9, the will to choose or your will. 10, opportunities. 11, electronics or electronic gadgets, computers, laptops, tablets, phones. 12, money. These are just a few of the major resources that are available to us. So how we organize these resources will determine how fast our lives move forward. The problem with many people in many developing countries is that they are terrible at organizing resources. If you look into the life of anyone, there are resources they can use to move their lives to the next level, yet they complain that there's no help, there are no resources. If you look at poor countries, there are resources that they can use to bring them out of poverty, to bring them from being underdeveloped to being a developed country. Yet they don't use those resources. And when you don't use and organize your resources well, what happens is that other people will benefit from those resources. Other people will manipulate you and use those resources to their advantage. And that is what is happening to many African and third world countries. Their resources, especially natural resources, are being mined by foreign countries because these countries, these African countries, have not sat down to really maximize their resources and organize them to their advantage. Most of the leaders in these countries are used to lining their pockets and living a rich life at the expense of the people in their country. Now, what are the consequences of poorly managed resources? When you don't manage your resources, what are the consequences? Because if you understand the consequences, then you can sit up and start managing your resources well. Number 1, lack of opportunities. When you don't manage your resources and organize your resources well, you will lack opportunities. For example, time is a resource. If you don't use the time well, to acquire an education, to acquire knowledge. When the opportunity for a job comes, you will lack access to that opportunity because you did not use the resource of time and the resource of your will and the resource of your mind to access education. So here, the opportunity of employment has been hindered by the mismanagement or the poor organization of the use of the resources of time, education and knowledge, your mind, your will, and you miss out on opportunities. Number 2, underdevelopment. When you don't manage your resources effectively, you will be underdeveloped as an individual and as a nation. Your development will be below what you can really do, and you'll be far behind. Like many countries are behind advanced countries because of the way they have mismanaged their resources. Number 3, stagnation. You will stay where you are for a long time. I come from the country of Ghana. It's a beautiful country. And Ghana had independence the same year Malaysia had independence. And yet, Malaysia by far is a superior nation to Ghana. Malaysia is advanced, far advanced than Ghana, even though they have been independent for the same number of years. What is the problem? The effective use of resources. And so Ghana is stagnating, Ghana lacks opportunities, and Ghana is underdeveloped because we are not using our resources effectively. And this also applies to companies, it also applies to individuals. When a company does not understand that their greatest resource are human beings, and so they should relate to them and treat them in the best possible way, but they think their greatest resource is the land they have, the machines they have, the equipment they have, they will treat their workers in a poor manner, and the good workers, the very exceptional workers, will leave and work for another company. Recently, about 5 key engineers who were working with Jeff Bezos left to work with Elon Musk. When you don't understand as a business owner that your customer as a human being is your number 1 resource after your employee, you will not treat your customers well. And when you don't treat them well, they will send their business elsewhere. When you don't understand that human beings are the greatest resource on the planet, you will not treat them well. And let me say this, human beings are meant to be led, not managed. Human beings are not photocopy machines to be managed. They are not cars or television sets or printers or laptops or devices or tables and chairs to be managed. Human beings are living organisms. They have a will and they can choose to follow you or not to follow you. So human beings are to be led, not managed. Anyone who tries to manage human beings will fail. You must lead them, and when you lead them, they will follow you. Napoleon Bonaparte had a massive campaign, and his advertisement was, join the army and see the world. And people joined and followed him to death because of his leadership. The 300 Spartans followed their king Leonidas to death because they believed in him, and he knew that he is to lead them and not manage them. Many countries and many organizations are doing terribly because they want to manage the people and not lead them. Number 4, retrogression. When you don't manage your resources well, you will retrogress, you will go backward. Things will get worse and worse and worse. So in a country like Ghana, we used to have ships. Now we have barely no ships. We used to have a number of planes. Now we are struggling. We are retrogressing. More money is being pumped into the economy. Our GDP is increasing, yet we are retrogressing because we don't know how to organize our resources for long-term benefit. We always think of short-term gain. Our educational system is a mess because of short-term gain. We have not even put together a 50-year plan that we want our education to be on this level in 50 years' time. And so we are going to start from here and move towards it, so that no matter what political party that comes into play, they will follow that educational policy. 5, poverty. You are poor because you have not organized your resources well. You refused to use your time to get an education. You refused to use your time to develop your talents. You refused to develop your personality, which is a resource. You refused to strengthen your mind, which will give you intelligence. You refused to use your phone to set an alarm to wake up early and go to work. And so you wake up late all the time. Meanwhile, your phone has an alarm on it. Someone tells you, we have a meeting on this date, and your phone has a calendar and you can key in at the time and the date, but you refuse to do so. And so you end up going to the meeting late. You are not using your resources, and that's why you are poor. You keep getting fired at every company that you go to, and you are poor. You don't manage your money well, so you are poor. You take your salary and you spend it all on clothes and data and food. You don't invest in your mind. You don't invest in relationships. You don't save and invest in financial institutions, so you are poor. Number 6, if you don't manage your resources, it will lead to servitude and enslavement. People will enslave you and you become a servant in your own country. And it's happening to many African countries. They are being enslaved once again. They are being colonized once again. There was a time that Napoleon Bonaparte looked at the map of the world, saw China, and said, now there is a sleeping giant. If she should wake up, she would shake the world, but let her sleep. And when China woke up, they shook the world, and they continue to shake the world, because China found a way to organize its resources for long-term benefit. China decided, we want to have global domination, and they organized their resources. It came to a point that the Chinese government said, we want every child, everyone 15 years and above, to know how to build a phone, to build an iPad, to build a tablet, to build electronic devices. And so when you go to any area in China, about 75% of the youth know how to build electronic devices. That is why many companies, electronic companies, have sent their manufacturing plants to China, because youngsters have learned how to do it. And so giving them a little salary, they can have them do this work. Meanwhile, if they were to employ people to do the same thing in their country, they'll be paying them large amounts of money. And they've achieved that goal. They want to become the manufacturing center of the world, and they are achieving that goal. Nearly everything that you want to manufacture can be manufactured in China. Number 7, which is the final one, is that when you don't organize your resources, you lack opportunities, you become underdeveloped, you stagnate, you retrogress, you become poor, you become a servant and a slave, then you develop a twisted mindset. And this twisted mindset, A, blames everyone for the condition you are in. You end up blaming people. It's the government's fault. It's the white person's fault. It is this person's fault. It is my uncle's fault. It is my aunt's fault. It is my teacher's fault. You end up blaming everyone but yourself. And when that happens, you also end up choosing leaders who will give you personal benefits instead of leaders who will help you. And that is why in Africa, during elections, leaders give people money for votes, because the people have a twisted mindset, and so they want the immediate personal benefits, and so they will vote for a complete idiot because of a bag of rice. Ladies and gentlemen, when you fail to have a strategy and organize your resources, your life will be a complete mess. This year, you can turn your life around. And so I encourage you to listen to this podcast again and again. And tomorrow, come and let us share ideas on how to develop a strategy for your life. This has been Afful Banson. Don't forget to give me the thumbs up. Sayonara.